Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, this is Quasar. Welcome to the Ag Lab. So, here I am, drinking my delicious beverage out of a cup. It's not just any cup. This is a ceramic cup that is reusable, right? I can wash it, I can use it again. I don't know how many times, but I could use it over and over and over before maybe having to dispose of it. So it seems like a really simple thing. I chose to use this cup, while I also had the choice to put my beverage in a disposable paper cup. Now, granted, I'm in the ag lab, so I'm probably always going to go with the reusable mug, but maybe I am going to get a coffee downtown and I have to make a decision to bring my own mug or to use one of their paper cups. And it seems obvious also. Well, of course, the reusable mug, that's the way to go. But wait right there, my friend. And here's where things get interesting. This mug had to be manufactured, right? So the raw materials for this mug, like the clay, like the maybe the heavy metals that went into coloring the the other products that are in the glaze. What else? The shipping of the mug. So it had to be fired in a kiln that uses a lot of energy. Whenever it gets washed, the water has to be heated. You use soap. How's the soap manufactured? What happens when the mug is done or cracked? What is its rate of decomposition, and what do those materials do, and how do they impact the environment? Versus the paper cup, whose trapped carbon will get released much quicker because of the quicker breakdown of paper, and who needed to be formed and then shipped to a company to put the logo on it, and then again shipped to the consumer, probably through a multi-step process, right? So distributor to a smaller company, and then eventually to the consumer. And then there's also the plastic lid, and I'm not even going to get into that. So something that seems really simple and maybe like an obvious choice of which one is more, could say like sustainable, is not so simple. And there's a couple ways that we can look at that. We can look at the amount of carbon that the entire process, we're going to call it the life cycle of the product, or think about it from like its cradle to grave. So we could look at the amount of carbon that is released from those processes. So the fuel burned when you're shipping it, the energy used by the kiln, the carbon released when the paper breaks down. All of that is carbon emission, or we can think about it as like the carbon footprint of that product over the entire course of its life, including the death phase, which we often forget about in our products' life cycles. So we could also look at it by kilowatt hours, which is like a unit of energy that is used to produce it and ship it, etc. We could also look at the environmental impacts, like pollution-wise, of mining those minerals for the glaze, or of harvesting the trees and then turning those into paper pulp for the cup. We could also look at the social impacts and factor that into maybe an entire cost-benefit analysis where we weigh the pros and the cons. Maybe we even quantify those pros and cons. We could look at it in terms of money, right? So how much does each of these different steps in the life cycle cost, and then which one is more economically sustainable? Whew. A lot of trade-offs. Do I choose this or do I choose that? And so this is our central question for the quest this session for natural resources. Do I choose this or do I choose that? So you're going to pick some kind of everyday choice that we make. And right now I've been really thinking about reusable diapers versus disposable because I have a 9-month-old. And I wash those reusables a lot, and I use a lot of hot water to do that. Where does the electricity for that hot water come from? So it's just really complicated, and I want to encourage you to think about things from from this system-wide perspective, right? So things are interconnected. There are stocks and there are flows and there are feedback loops and things that don't seem like they might affect something might. So what are we doing with this? What are we doing with the this or that quest? We're making kinetic mobiles. What? Heck yeah! So kinetic means that they move and that they're balanced. I mean, there's probably a better definition out there, and we'll totally get into that. But a kinetic mobile is all about balance. So you start with just one piece of, or just one branch, right? And you hang your this or that, this thing, the foot, or that thing, the math equations. And then you find the balance point of those two things where they cancel each other out. Once you find that balance point, you add another factor, which has its own this on one end or that on the other end. And then you add another factor and so on. So these might be really large scale for you, and they might be really small, like this one. The materials that you use to create it are going to be up to you as well, although we'll totally talk about ideas and brainstorm possibilities. But these are really going to be a visualization of the life cycle analysis and the comparison that you did between your everyday object, your this or your that. So I'm super excited to turn this sort of complicated, abstract idea into this really beautiful physical representation that can be easily viewed and like academic, brain, like digested by an audience. So that is what we're going to exhibit, and I am so stoked for what you all come up with. See you on the other side.